You're listening to the Mindful Chapters, a sanctuary for heartfelt stories and gentle growth. If this chapter resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe to help our mindful community grow. Now let's continue the journey together. Book title: The Day You Stop Chasing Inspiration. How Small Actions Reset Your Brain, Your Energy, and Your Future. By Lila Hart. Welcome, love. Before we go any further, I want you to take one soft breath. The kind that feels like opening a window inside your chest. This book isn't here to demand more from you. It won't ask you to become a different person overnight. And it certainly isn't here to convince you that you need more discipline or more motivation. Instead, it's an invitation. A gentle invitation to shift the way you move through your days. Not through pressure but through presence. Not through big leaps but through small, honest steps that your brain and your energy can actually hold. Because your future doesn't change when you feel inspired. Your future changes when you take one tiny action that tells your whole system, I'm ready to move again. Inside these pages you'll learn how small actions rewire your brain, smooth your nervous system, and begin to align your emotional frequency with the woman you're becoming. This is a new beginning, soft, steady, and deeply yours. I'm right here with you. Let's walk gently into your next chapter. Introduction. Before we begin, I want you to slow down with me. Just for a moment. Take one gentle breath. The kind that lets your body know you're safe. Let your shoulders soften. Let your heart arrive here. If you've picked up this book, I imagine you've been carrying a quiet heaviness for a while. A heaviness that comes from wanting to do so much, and yet doing so little. From dreaming big but watching the days slip by. From telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow, only to greet another week feeling like you failed before you even began. I want to tell you something tender and true. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not undisciplined. You are not weak. You've simply been taught to chase the wrong things. Most of us were raised to believe that inspiration comes first. That you must feel motivated, lit up, passionate, ready, before you can take action. But what if that's the biggest lie blocking your life? What if the truth is this? Inspiration is not the starting point. It's the echo, the reward, the afterglow. Your brain doesn't awaken through intention. It awakens through movement. Through small, doable actions that release the quiet chemistry of momentum. And your energy, the frequency that shapes your emotional world, doesn't rise when you wait for the perfect feeling. It rises when you choose one tiny step that says, I'm here, and I'm willing. You see, your future self isn't waiting for your motivation. She's waiting for your presence, your softness, your willingness to begin in an imperfect human way. This book is my hand reaching for yours. Not to pull you upward, but to walk with you side by side. As you learn how to reset your brain, your habits, and the emotional frequency you live in. We'll move slowly, gently, realistically, lovingly. Because your transformation won't happen in a single leap. It will happen in the smallest moments, the ones that teach your nervous system, your mind, and your energy, that you can trust yourself again. This is not a book about chasing inspiration. This is a book about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to chase anything. Welcome, love. We begin softly. We begin here. We begin together. Chapter 1: The Morning You Stop Waiting to Feel Ready. There is a particular kind of morning that arrives without ceremony. No fireworks. No sudden clarity. No burst of motivation that sweeps you out of bed and into a new life. Just a quiet, almost fragile stillness. A softness that hangs in the air like untouched dust on a windowsill. You open your eyes slowly. You're not inspired. You're not energized. You're not stepping into the glossy version of yourself you imagined last night. You're just you. Human. Tender. Trying. And for a long time, mornings like this made me feel behind before my day even began. I thought something was wrong with me. That if I were truly meant for the future I envisioned, the woman I wanted to become, the projects I dreamed of finishing, the life that felt just out of reach, I should wake up ready. Ready to begin. Ready to change. Ready to take action. Ready to feel inspired. But instead, I often woke into a quiet heaviness. A kind of emotional fog. Not sadness exactly. Just a sense of not yet. As if I didn't possess the spark required to start living as my future self. The world tells us that readiness is a feeling. A switch that flips inside you. A moment of motivation that arrives like lightning and makes everything suddenly possible. But love. Lightning isn't dependable. And waiting for it is a slow way to lose a lifetime. On one particularly unremarkable morning. The kind so ordinary you barely remember it by lunchtime. Something shifted for me. Not outside. Inside. I woke up feeling exactly like the woman I didn't want to be anymore. Unmotivated. Unfocused. Like life was happening over there while I was stuck in place. I stared at the faint line of sunlight leaking through my curtains. It wasn't even beautiful light, just soft enough to say, a new day is here, but not bright enough to make me feel anything. In the past, I would have rolled over and bargained with myself. Tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Next week will be different. Once I feel better, everything will fall into place. But that day, something in me didn't want to run anymore. Something in me was tired of waiting. Not dramatically. Not rebelliously. Just quietly tired. So instead of spiraling into thoughts about how behind I was, or how uninspired I felt, or how impossible everything seemed, I did the only thing I had the energy to do. I placed my hand on my heart. It wasn't a spiritual gesture or a ritual I learned from anyone. It was instinct, body wisdom. The kind of movement you make when you've reached the edge of self-pressure and your soul says, enough. My palm rested over my chest, warm and grounding, and the words slipped out of me like a breath. Soft, barely, but true. How can I begin softly today? Not powerfully. Not perfectly. Not productively. Toughly. Something inside me exhaled. Tiny release. Like my nervous system had been waiting years to be spoken to in this way. And for the first time, I realized something that my entire life had prepared me to misunderstand. Readiness is not a feeling. It's a moment you create. Not by trying harder. Not by waiting for inspiration to show up. But by choosing the gentlest possible beginning and allowing that beginning to shift you. Here's what I didn't know back then, but began to understand that morning. Your brain is not motivated by inspiration. It's motivated by action. Tiny action. Breath-sized action. Action so small your nervous system sighs with relief because it doesn't feel threatened or overwhelmed. We are wired for movement, not motivation. Every time you take a single small step, no matter how insignificant it seems, your brain releases a quiet spark of dopamine. Not excitement, not fireworks, just a soft glow. And that glow whispers, see, you can do this. It doesn't matter if the step is microscopic. It doesn't matter if it's imperfect. It doesn't matter if it's only 5 minutes, or 1 sentence, or 2 deep breaths. The glow is what builds momentum. The glow is what rewires your habits. The glow is what shifts your emotional frequency from stagnation into possibility. This is the part no one teaches us. Inspiration is not the fuel of action. Action is what creates inspiration. We get it backwards. We wait to feel ready, not realizing that readiness is born from the doing. We wait to feel that spark, not understanding that the spark is a byproduct of the tiniest movement forward. We wait to feel like our future selves before we act like them. But the truth is, we become them by acting first. That morning, hand on my heart, I didn't force myself into productivity. I didn't declare a new life plan. I didn't push. I simply asked for softness. And in that softness, something miraculous happened. Sat up, slowly, deliberately, with a sense of tenderness I had never extended to myself before. I didn't do anything impressive. I didn't run 5 miles or write 10 pages or meditate for an hour. I just took one tiny step. I opened my laptop. I wrote 1 sentence. And then I wrote another. Not because I felt inspired, but because I had stopped waiting to feel inspired. That small action, so small I might have dismissed it in the past, became the first domino, the first spark, the first hint of a new emotional frequency beginning to hum beneath my skin. It felt like a quiet yes from the universe. But more importantly, it felt like a quiet yes from myself. What I want you to see is this. The morning you stop waiting to feel ready is not a dramatic morning. It's not a bold, fiery, cinematic moment. It's gentle, subtle, it's almost invisible, and yet it changes everything. Because when you stop chasing readiness, you stop chasing a life that always feels one step away. In that single, soft moment you begin living it. Not perfectly, not loudly, not all at once, but gently, consistently, honestly. This chapter begins here, with your hand on your heart, inviting yourself into a new kind of beginning. One tiny step, one quiet breath, one soft question. How can I begin softly today? And love, that question is the doorway. Your future self is already standing on the other side. Chapter 2: The Old Paradigm, the Endless Chase for Inspiration. There is a moment in every woman's life when she realizes the thing she keeps chasing is not the thing that keeps her moving. Maybe you know that moment. Maybe you've lived inside it for years. It's the moment when you realize motivation has become your favorite drug. A hit, a high, a quick spark that feels like possibility, but dissolves the moment you step back into your ordinary life. The old paradigm tells us, if you're not doing what you said you'd do, it's because you're not inspired enough yet. So we chase inspiration like thirsty travelers crossing a desert, cup in hand, hoping for one more drop of something that will finally be enough. But inspiration is a peculiar thing. Feels incredible, like warm sunlight on your skin, like drinking your favorite coffee on a cold morning. Sweet, comforting, awakening. But just like that coffee, you finish it far too quickly. And then you're left with the empty cup, wondering why the warmth didn't last. Let me take you into the old paradigm. The one almost all of us have lived inside without even realizing it. It's not your fault. It's a system you inherited. And in this chapter, we're going to unravel it together, gently. 1. The seduction of the motivation high. The old paradigm begins with a promise. When you feel inspired, everything will change. It promises a future where your entire life transforms. Once you've consumed the right words, heard the right speaker, read the right chapter, watched the right video, attended the right seminar, and for a moment it feels true. You sit in a room filled with bright lights and powerful music. An enthusiastic speaker telling you that you are limitless, unstoppable, ready. Everyone around you is nodding, crying, writing furiously in notebooks. You feel your chest expand. Your eyes shine. Your pulse quickens. You feel alive. And in that moment, something inside you whispers, "This is it. This time I'm really going to change." Or maybe it happens when you're lying in bed at night, listening to a motivational video on your phone. The narrator's voice hits that one sentence, that one line that sends chills through your whole body. And you say to yourself, "Tomorrow will be different." Or maybe it's after reading a chapter in a self-help book that makes you sit up straighter and believe in your power for the first time in months. Motivation is intoxicating, feels like a promise, doorway, a jolt of electricity that lights up the entire nervous system. But here's the part nobody prepares you for. Motivation is not designed to last. Inspiration is an emotion, a burst, a wave, a chemical surge that peaks quickly and fades just as fast. And you know what the brain loves? Anything that gives it a fast, intense reward. Seminars, videos, podcasts, workshops, quotes, stories. All of these deliver a hit of emotional dopamine, a feeling of potential, a rush of, "I could be someone new." But dopamine driven by consumption does not equal action, doesn't create new neural pathways, doesn't build habits, doesn't deepen self-trust, just makes you feel good, temporarily. And this is where the old paradigm traps you. Because once the high fades, what happens? You blame yourself, not the system, not the method, not the emotional chemical response of your brain. You blame you. You think, "I guess I'm just lazy. Why can't I follow through? Why do I always slip back into my old patterns? Everyone else seems to change so fast. What's wrong with me?" But love, nothing is wrong with you. You're just living in the wrong paradigm. The old paradigm conditions you to become addicted to the feeling of motivation, instead of the process of transformation. There is a difference, a massive one. And until you understand the difference, you will always feel like you are failing. To the crash, when the high fades and real life returns. Let's talk about the crash. That moment when you come home from the seminar, or close the book, or finish the video, and suddenly, nothing inside you feels the same anymore. You told yourself you'd wake up early the next morning. You'd drink water, journal, meditate, reorganize your life. Start the project. Launch the idea. Clean the closet. Change the patterns. But instead the alarm rings. And you feel exactly like the person you were yesterday. No spark. No fire. No surge of electricity. Just heaviness. Just ordinary life. All that motivation you absorbed seems to evaporate overnight. And when you try to reach for the memory of it, feels far away, like a dream you were convinced was real, but can no longer fully recall. In that moment, shame creeps in, quietly, sneakily, like a shadow slipping across the floor. You begin to think words that sting. "I always fall off. I'm just not good at consistency. Why can't I stick to anything? Maybe I'm the problem." But you aren't. The truth is beautifully, mercifully simple. Your brain is not addicted to doing. It's addicted to feeling. And inspiration is a feeling. Fast, bright, delicious one. Like the first sip of your favorite coffee. Rich and warm. But finished too soon. You were never lazy. You were simply chasing a sensation that your brain learned to crave. And then crash from. You were chasing a future built on temporary highs. Instead of grounded habits. And no one told you the difference. 3. The brain's real addiction. The chemistry of quick wins. Let's step gently into the neuroscience of this. Because once you understand how your brain works, you will stop blaming yourself for things that were never your fault. Your brain has one primary job: to conserve energy and seek quick rewards. So when you watch a motivational video, or sit through a powerful talk, your brain gets the dopamine, without you having to take any action. This is called dopamine without effort. And it's the least stable form of dopamine humans can access. Spikes, then it drops, hard. And the brain says, "Oh, that felt good. Let's do more of that." So what happens? You consume more. More videos, more talks, more posts, more quotes. Feels like progress. But it's not progress. It's stimulation. You are emotionally full but energetically empty. Your brain is busy. Your heart is stirred. You feel productive. But nothing in your physical life changes. This is the trap of the old paradigm. Not because you don't care. Or because you aren't trying hard enough. But because your brain is wired to prefer emotional highs over slow, gentle effort. And so the cycle continues. Consume, feel good, crash, blame yourself, consume again. Until one day, it becomes painfully obvious. You are living the same year over and over. Calling it trying. 4. Why motivation alone can't create change. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Motivation is not transformation. Motivation is a spark, moment, feeling. And feelings are not meant to last. They're meant to guide, not sustain. The old paradigm tells you to wait until you feel inspired before you act. But your future self doesn't live in inspiration. She lives in consistency. She lives in clarity. She lives in momentum. She lives in the small actions you take, even when the emotional high is gone. Because here's the real, grounded, neuroscience-backed truth. The brain does not build habits from motivation. It builds habits from repetition, from starting small, from actions that feel safe. Inspiration is loud, but transformation is quiet. Inspiration is fast, but transformation is steady. Inspiration burns bright, but transformation glows. And that glow, the gentle, sustainable, repeatable glow, only comes from doing, not imagining, not planning, not consuming, doing. Tiny, honest, doable doing. 5. The emotional truth behind the old paradigm. Let me say this softly, because it deserves tenderness. You were never lazy. You were simply addicted to a feeling that evaporated too fast. And when that feeling faded, you blamed your character instead of your chemistry. This is why the old paradigm is so dangerous. Teaches you to take emotional highs personally and emotional crashes personally, when neither one is personal at all. You are not inconsistent. Your dopamine is. You are not unmotivated. Your nervous system is overwhelmed. You are not failing. You are following biology. Once you see this clearly, the shame begins to lift. And once shame lifts, a new possibility becomes available. A softer, healthier, more grounded way of creating change. But before we step into the new paradigm in the next chapter, I want you to sit with this truth gently. Nothing you've struggled with was ever evidence of who you are. It was only evidence of the system you were taught to use. And that system was flawed from the beginning. You don't need more inspiration. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more emotional highs. You need a new relationship with action. A new relationship with your nervous system. A new relationship with your brain. A new relationship with yourself. Love. That is exactly where we are going next. But for now, let this truth settle softly into your body. I was never lazy. I was simply chasing a feeling that couldn't stay. In the next chapter, I'll show you the paradigm that does stay. The one that rewires your brain, stabilizes your energy, restores your self-trust, and builds the future your heart already knows is possible. We're leaving the old paradigm behind now. You don't live there anymore. We're stepping into something softer, something sustainable, something true. Let's go there together. Chapter 3: The brain truth. Action comes before emotion. If the old paradigm was built on the belief that motivation should come first, the new paradigm begins with a truth so gentle, and yet so revolutionary, that it can change your entire life once you truly feel it in your body. Emotion does not create action. Action creates emotion. I want you to breathe that in for a moment. Slowly, tenderly. Because everything you've ever believed about getting your life together, every ounce of guilt you've carried for not being consistent, every moment you blamed yourself for not being inspired enough, all of it softens when this truth lands inside you. This isn't a mindset shift. It's a biological reality. A truth written into the architecture of your brain and the frequency of your energy. Let's step into it together, gently. 1. The myth of motivation first. Most of us grow up believing that inspiration is the spark, the magical feeling that ignites transformation. We wait for that perfect emotional state, the surge of motivation that will lift us from the couch, open our laptops, get us working out, make us change our habits, rewrite our stories. But emotions are waves. They rise, they fall, they shift with weather, hormones, sleep, stress, memories, seasons, stories. If your life depends on waiting for the perfect emotional wave, you will spend years watching the shoreline. And here's the truth that hurts a little. Only because it's been hidden from you for so long. Your brain never needed the emotion. It needed the movement. We've been trying to begin with the wrong ingredient. Emotion is a result. Action is the catalyst. This is not positive thinking. It's neurochemistry. 2. Dopamine. Your brain's quiet spark of yes. Let me tell you something about dopamine that almost no one explains correctly. Dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure. It's the chemical of progress. It's the brain's way of saying, we're moving toward something. Keep going. But here's the part that will change you. Dopamine is not released when you think about doing something. It is released when you complete even the smallest action. Read that again. Softly, slowly. Because this truth alone can dissolve decades of self-blame. You don't get dopamine from imagining your goals. You don't get dopamine from planning them. You don't get dopamine from talking about them. And you don't get dopamine from wishing you felt ready. You get dopamine from doing something tiny, something real, something embodied. one sentence written, one glass of water poured, one drawer organized, one email opened and handled, 1 minute of movement, one breath of grounding. Dopamine drips like a warm little spark each time you complete something, no matter how small, and this drip becomes an emotional frequency in your body. A quiet hum that says, "See, you can do this." That whisper, not motivation, not inspiration, not hype, is the beginning of momentum. 3. The science of tiny wins and why they matter so much. You've heard people talk about small steps before. But what you might not know is why they matter so much. Not motivationally, but neurologically. When you do something small, 3 things happen in your brain. 1. Your amygdala relaxes. The amygdala is your fear center. It's the reason big goals feel overwhelming. Small actions tell it, "We're safe. No threat here." 2. Your prefrontal cortex activates. This part handles planning, focus, and decision-making. Tiny wins flip this switch on. 3. Dopamine rises. And dopamine is what makes you want to do it again. Small actions create a cycle. Safety, clarity, reward, repeat. This is how momentum is built. Not from giant leaps, but from tiny, doable steps repeated with kindness. Your brain doesn't change from intensity. It changes from consistency. And consistency is only possible when the steps don't scare your nervous system. This is why microactions are magic. They're the doorway to a new you. 4. The frequency shift. When action rewires your energy. Let's go deeper, beyond the brain, into your energy. Every emotion you experience is a frequency, vibration, pattern your body learns over time. When you're stuck in procrastination, your frequency sits in stagnation. Heavy, slow, dense. Thinking doesn't shift that frequency. Planning doesn't shift it. Beating yourself up definitely doesn't shift it. Movement shifts it. Action, even the smallest one, creates a microshift in your energy field. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. Fresh air enters. Possibility enters. You enter. That tiny win releases not just dopamine, but a small rise in emotional frequency. You start to feel a little lighter, a little more open, a little more grounded, a little more capable. Not because the task was big, but because the energy shifted inside you. Action is the tuning fork. Emotion is the vibration that follows. 5. Why thinking feels exhausting but acting feels liberating. Let's talk about something you've probably felt many times. Overthinking is exhausting. Planning is draining. Worrying takes effort. But doing, just starting, often feels easier than all the mental energy you spent avoiding it. Why? Because thinking without action traps your brain in a loop. Uncertainty, fear, avoidance, shame, more thinking. This is called the cognitive freeze state. And millions of people live in it without ever realizing it. But one tiny action, just one, breaks the loop instantly. You move out of the mind, and back into the body, back into presence, back into possibility, back into a frequency your system knows how to work with. Action is grounding, pulls you out of your head, and back into the world. This is why even cleaning one small corner of your home feels like relief. Why writing one sentence feels like progress. Why drinking one glass of water makes your shoulders drop. The brain doesn't need you to think more. It needs you to start. 6. The chemistry of self-trust. Let me share something deeply important. Every time you complete a small action, you are not just releasing dopamine. You are repairing self-trust. Self-trust isn't built from big promises kept. It's built from tiny agreements honored. You say, "I'll do this one small thing." And then you do it. Your brain registers. We follow through. Your body registers. It's safe to begin. Your energy registers. We are becoming someone new. This is why one tiny action can feel like such a big deal. It's not the task. It's the identity you are rewiring through it. Consistency is not a personality trait. It's a relationship with yourself. A relationship built through small, steady actions that show your nervous system you are someone who shows up. Not perfectly, not intensely, just steadily. And steady is what creates quantum leaps. 7. The alignment of chemistry plus energy. Momentum is often portrayed as something fierce, fast, fiery, unstoppable. But real momentum, the kind that lasts, is much quieter. It's chemistry aligning with energy, brain matching body, neural pathways matching emotional frequency. You take a tiny action, dopamine rises, your frequency lifts, your nervous system calms, your prefrontal cortex engages, your body says, "Yes, this is good." And so you take another action, not from pressure, not from guilt, not from hyped-up motivation. From alignment. Momentum isn't something you force. It's something you create through harmony, when the brain and the body begin moving in the same direction. 8. The gentle loop that changes everything. Let's simplify this into a loop you can feel. Tiny action, tiny win, dopamine, higher frequency, desire to repeat, momentum. This is the loop that changes lives. Not intensity, not courage, not discipline, not willpower. Gentle repetition. Your brain begins to trust you. Your body begins to feel safe. Your energy begins to rise. Your actions begin to compound. Your identity begins to shift. And suddenly you wake up one morning and realize you are living in a frequency you once thought you had to chase externally. But you didn't chase it. You created it, step by soft step. 9. Your new beginning, the power of one small move. Before we end this chapter, I want you to do something with me. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the warmth of your palm. Feel your breath move beneath it. And whisper this to yourself. The way I whispered it to myself on the morning everything began to change. I don't need the feeling first. I just need one small action. One step. One breath. One win. One spark of dopamine. One shift in frequency. One moment of self-trust. That's how momentum begins. Not from a surge of emotion, but from a gentle alignment of chemistry and energy. This is the day your brain stops being the enemy and becomes your ally. This is the moment you understand your power, not as something you wait for, but as something you activate. This is the truth that rewrites your entire relationship. With action, with discipline, with consistency, with yourself, and love. This is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to design these tiny actions in a way that feels tender, realistic, and deeply aligned with your nervous system. So momentum becomes not something you chase, but something you live. Let's go there together. Chapter 4: The New Paradigm: How People Who Stay Consistent Actually Operate. If you've ever watched someone who seems beautifully consistent, the person who reads every morning, moves their body daily, keeps their home gently organized, or keeps showing up for their dreams as if it's the most natural thing in the world, you might assume they possess something you don't. More discipline, more motivation, more willpower, more inspiration. But the truth I want you to feel deep in your chest, is that consistent people don't have more motivation. They have a different relationship with action. They don't wait to feel inspired. They don't negotiate with themselves for days. They don't depend on an emotional surge. They build something else. Something simple. Something sustainable. Something gentle. They build a loop. An energy loop. Behavioral loop. Self-trust loop. A loop that makes consistency feel like breathing. Natural, quiet, and steady. And this loop is made of 3 parts. Human. Me show you. 1. Part 1. One tiny action. People who stay consistent don't begin their day by asking, how do I do everything today? How do I change my whole life right now? How do I become my future self immediately? They ask a softer, wiser question. What is the smallest possible action I can take next? Not the biggest. Not the most impressive. Not the one that gets applause. The smallest. Why? Because tiny actions bypass resistance. Your brain has one natural instinct. Conserve energy. It wants safety, predictability, minimal threats, minimal effort. Big changes feel dangerous. Big steps feel overwhelming. Big goals feel like cliffs. But tiny steps feel like walking across a room. They don't trigger fear. They don't activate the amygdala. They don't ask your brain to burn too much fuel. They whisper to your mind. This is easy. You can do this. That whisper becomes your pathway. Let me give you examples. Instead of, I need to write my whole chapter, a consistent person chooses, write 1 sentence. Instead of, I should run 2 miles, they choose, walk for 1 minute. Instead of, I have to clean the whole kitchen, they choose, wash 1 dish. Instead of, I need to meditate for 20 minutes, they choose, sit with my breath for 30 seconds. The magic is not in the size. The magic is in the beginning. Tiny actions unlock the door. Tiny actions tell your brain, this is safe. This is doable. This is okay. Tiny actions lower the emotional threshold so dramatically that starting becomes the easiest part of your day. And once you start, your entire inner world begins to shift. Which brings us to the second part of the loop. Part 2. Micro-satisfaction. If tiny actions open the door, micro-satisfaction is what makes you want to walk through it again tomorrow. This is the step most people skip. And it's the reason so many attempts at consistency fail. Because your brain doesn't repeat what you do. It repeats what you reward. Every tiny action you complete must be followed with evidence of success. Not dramatic evidence. Not Instagram-worthy evidence. Not evidence anyone else sees. Your brain needs microsignals. Something small. Something simple. Something that whispers, yes, this mattered. Here's what microsatisfaction looks like. A check mark on your calendar. Tiny box ticked. Progress bar moved 1%. A notebook with 1 sentence written. A small yes whispered under your breath. A soft good job love after you finish. You don't need to flood yourself with praise. You don't need to jump up and down. You just need a moment of recognition. just enough to let your brain know the action was valuable. When you give your heart evidence of completion, you activate a gentle wave of dopamine, not the wild, intense spike of motivation highs, but the soft, stable, repeatable drip that creates long-term change. Micro-satisfaction is how you train your body to associate, beginning with pleasure. It's how you rewire your nervous system to believe. We do small things. We finish small things. And it feels good to finish them. Without micro-satisfaction, the loop would break. With it, the loop becomes self-strengthening. Part 3, Emotional Reward. This is where the magic deepens. Tiny action creates a micro-win. Micro-win creates tiny dopamine. Tiny dopamine creates an emotional shift. Not a burst, not a high, not a peak, but a quiet pride. Soft glow. A warm hum in your chest. A little upward lift in your energy. That feeling, that glow, that is emotional reward. It's your frequency rising. It's your body saying, "More of this, please." It feels good to move forward. It feels safe to be consistent. It feels empowering to do small things. This emotional reward becomes the anchor of the loop. Because once your frequency rises, action becomes easier tomorrow. Continue the loop a few days. And something remarkable happens. You begin craving the consistency itself. Not because you're disciplined, not because you're motivated, but because your energy recognizes it as nourishment. Let me say it more simply. Your actions feed you. Your frequency lifts you. Your brain rewards you. Your body trusts you. Consistency becomes self-sustaining. Not because you force it, but because your biology and your energy begin working in the same direction. And that's the new paradigm. Why the loop works, and why almost nothing else does. Let's zoom out for a moment and see the loop as a whole. 1. Tiny action. 2. Micro-satisfaction. 3. Emotional reward. Desire to repeat. Momentum. This is how consistent people operate. Not perfectly. Not intensely. Not through self-pressure. But through alignment. Here's why the loop works so beautifully. 1. Tiny actions bypass resistance. Your brain doesn't freak out. Your nervous system stays calm. Your future self feels reachable. 2. Micro-satisfaction builds self-trust. The brain logs evidence. We do what we say we'll do. Self-doubt begins to melt. 3. Emotional reward raises your frequency. You move from stagnation progress. From heaviness lightness. From avoidance desire. 4. Higher frequency amplifies motivation. Now you want to take action. Not from pressure, but from alignment. 5. The loop becomes your identity. You don't force consistency. You live it. This is why consistent people feel different. They don't chase emotions. They create them. They don't wait for the spark. They generate it. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on the loop. And the loop never fails them. Because it works with the brain. With the nervous system. With energy. With emotion. Not against them. How this loop changes your identity. Identity doesn't shift from affirmations alone. Identity shifts from repeated proof. When you complete tiny actions every day, something subtle happens inside you. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to feel like someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone who honors tiny decisions, someone who doesn't need intensity to move, someone who doesn't collapse at the first sign of inconsistency, someone whose life is built by gentle momentum, not emotional chaos. Tiny wins begin to tell a new story about who you are. Truer story. Softer story. A stronger story. Consistency becomes a natural extension of your self-image. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to push yourself. You don't have to pretend. You simply become the person who keeps going. Because your brain, your energy, and your actions are finally speaking the same language. The new paradigm speaks a different truth. The old paradigm says, wait until you feel inspired. The new paradigm says, start small. Inspiration will follow. The old paradigm says, be disciplined. The new paradigm says, make it so easy your brain feels safe. The old paradigm says, push through resistance. The new paradigm says, shrink the step until there is no resistance. The old paradigm says, do more. The new paradigm says, do tiny things consistently. The old paradigm says, you need motivation. The new paradigm says, you need a loop. And this loop, this gentle, grounded, reliable loop, is how entire lives change quietly. Not with intensity, not with force, not with emotional highs, with softness, with safety, with repeatable microshifts in energy. This is transformation the nervous system can hold. This is change your heart can sustain. This is the future self you're stepping into. Not all at once, but one tiny action at a time. Closing, the moment you enter the loop. Before we close this chapter, I want you to do something softly. Place your hand on your heart again. Feel your breath warming your palm. Feel your chest rising beneath it. And whisper this. I don't need to feel inspired. I just need to begin small. One tiny action. One micro satisfaction. One emotional reward. That is the loop. That is the paradigm. That is the doorway to your new life. In the next chapter, we're going to build your personal loop. The one that matches your nervous system, your energy, your future self. Until then, love. Remember this. You don't chase inspiration anymore. You create it. Toughly, steadily, and beautifully. From the inside out. Chapter 5 The energy reframe. Inspiration is the outcome, not the starting line. There is a beautiful moment in your healing journey where you realize everything you believed about inspiration was backwards. Not a small misunderstanding, not a slight misinterpretation, but a complete reversal of how energy actually moves. For years, maybe decades, you've been taught that inspiration is the spark, the ignition, the starting line. You were told that once you feel inspired, you'll begin. And once you begin, your life will change. But love, that's not how it works. Not in the brain. Not in the body. Not in the field of energy around you. And this truth is so gentle, so liberating, that once it lands in your heart, you can never go back to the old way of living. Let me say it slowly, lovingly, in the exact softness it deserves. Inspiration isn't the beginning. It's the outcome. It's what rises after your first tiny step. Not before it. This is the energy reframe that will change everything about how you move through your life. Let's walk through it together. 1. The lie you inherited. Feel inspired first. You didn't come up with this on your own. Everyone around you taught it to you in subtle ways. Wait until you're motivated. Find your passion. Listen to your inspiration. Do it when you feel aligned. Strike when the spark hits. The message was always the same. You need a certain feeling before you're allowed to move. So you waited, and waited, and waited. And every time inspiration didn't show up on schedule, you told yourself something painful. I guess I'm not ready. I guess this isn't my time. I guess I'm not meant for this. I guess I'm not that kind of person. But none of that was true. You weren't flawed. You weren't unmotivated. You weren't lacking. You were simply operating from an energy model that leads to emotional paralysis. Because if you wait to feel inspired first, you may wait for years. Inspiration is not designed to arrive on command. It is not a prerequisite. It is not your permission slip. It is your reward. And the moment you understand this, the moment your body feels the truth of it, your whole life begins to move again. 2. How energy actually works. Feeling follows motion. Your emotional frequency is not a static thing. It's fluid. Shifts as you move through life. But here's the key. Energy responds to action, not intention. Your frequency changes when you move, not when you think about moving. Let me give you an example from your everyday life. Have you ever spent hours thinking about cleaning a room and felt exhausted before you even began? But once you picked up one object, just one, something in you shifted, and suddenly you were able to clean 10 minutes, and then 20, and then somehow the whole room. That wasn't motivation. That was energy responding to action. The brain released dopamine. Your frequency lifted. Your body felt lighter. Your emotional state changed. And you weren't inspired until after you began. This is how everything in your life works. Write one sentence, inspiration rises. Drink one glass of water, clarity rises. Walk 1 minute, motivation rises. Meditate for 30 seconds, calm rises. Speak kindly to yourself once, self-love rises. Action is the tuning fork. Emotion is the vibration that follows. This is the new paradigm. The one that actually works. 3. The emotional trap of waiting. Let's talk gently about what happens emotionally when you wait to feel inspired. When you delay action until the right feeling arrives, you enter a loop. You wait, you feel guilty, you avoid, you feel ashamed, you wait more. This loop drains your energy, lowers your frequency, and teaches your brain that moving forward is unsafe. Because every day you don't act, your emotional weight increases. It's not the task you're avoiding. It's the pressure you've attached to the task. Waiting is heavy. Starting is light. Avoidance lowers your frequency. Action raises it. You don't break the loop with discipline. You break it with one tiny, gentle movement. Not when you feel ready, but when you feel willing. Willing is softer. Willing is calmer. Willing is accessible. Willing asks very little. Just one breath-sized step. And that is all your future self needs from you. 4. Your future self isn't asking for inspiration. There is a version of you, months ahead, years ahead, already standing in your future, who has the clarity, strength, emotional steadiness, and confidence you crave. She's not an imaginary concept. She's a frequency, field, a possibility that already exists. And let me tell you something with the tenderness of a friend sitting beside you. Your future self doesn't need you to feel inspired. She needs you to honor her with one breath-sized step today. Not a big step. Not a perfect step. Not a dramatic step. Small one. The kind that tells her, I'm coming for you. I haven't abandoned us. I'm willing to move, even imperfectly. You're worth showing up for. I'm ready to meet you halfway. She doesn't measure your worth in leaps. She measures your willingness to begin. The energy connection between you and your future self becomes stronger. Every time you choose movement over stagnation. Every time you take one small step. Your frequency aligns with hers. Your paths merge. Your timelines collapse. Your future becomes your present. because you move toward it with softness. 5. Inspiration as an energetic result. Let's go deeper into the energetics. Inspiration is not a starting emotion. It is a rising emotion. It rises from within you once your nervous system feels safe. Once the brain receives a small hit of dopamine. Once your energy begins to elevate from the tiny action you took. Think of inspiration like heat. When you light a candle, the flame is not the first thing that happens. The wick warms, the wax softens, temperature rises, and then, only then, the flame appears. Inspiration is your flame. Action is the spark. This is why so many people feel stuck. They try to light a flame in a cold wick, a wick untouched by movement, a wick that has never warmed. Your job isn't to ignite yourself. Your job is to warm the wick. One tiny action, one gentle beginning, one softened breath. From that warmth, inspiration rises naturally. You don't force it. You don't demand it. You don't chase it. You create the conditions for it. And then it comes. Every time. 6. How the reframe sets you free. Once you accept that inspiration comes after action, something miraculous happens inside you. You stop waiting for perfect energy. You stop punishing yourself for not having it. You stop believing you need to feel a certain way before you move. You walk into your life the way a gentle wave meets the shore. Soft, steady, inevitable. This is freedom. Because if inspiration is the outcome, then the pressure on your emotions disappears. You don't have to feel like it. You don't have to want it. You don't have to be motivated. You don't have to be ready. You just have to begin. And beginning is something your body can handle. Beginning is something your nervous system can hold. Beginning is something your brain can reward. Beginning is enough. Because beginning leads to energy. And energy leads to inspiration. Always. 7. The inner dialogue that changes everything. Let me show you the subtle shift in language that transforms your days. The old paradigm says, I'll start when I feel inspired. The new paradigm says, I'll start and inspiration will join me. The old paradigm says, I don't feel ready yet. The new paradigm says, I don't need to feel ready to take a small step. The old paradigm says, I need motivation. The new paradigm says, I need movement. The old paradigm says, I have to push myself. The new paradigm says, I only have to warm the wick. This shift isn't dramatic. It's gentle. It's grounded. It's something your heart can hold. And this gentle shift will carry you further than force ever could. 8. Your first step doesn't have to be beautiful. Let me free you from something heavy. Your first step doesn't have to be confident, or graceful, or productive, or meaningful. It only needs to exist. A shaky first step is still a step. A messy first step still changes your frequency. A small first step still warms the wick. A reluctant first step still shifts your energy. Movement doesn't require perfection. Movement requires willingness. And willingness is enough to create momentum. Every tiny step is a vote for your future self. Every tiny step is a realignment. Every tiny step is an invitation to your own becoming. Remember this. The universe doesn't respond to the size of your actions. It responds to the energy behind them. And the energy behind a small action can be enormous. 9. Closing, the rise of your new identity. Before we close this chapter, I want you to rest one hand on your heart. Breathe slowly. Let your chest rise beneath your palm. Let your body soften into warmth. And whisper with me. Inspiration is not my beginning. It is my reward. Feel that truth settle into your bones. Feel how much lighter life becomes. When the pressure to feel a certain way dissolves, feel how possible everything becomes. When you understand that your future self is waiting for one breath-sized step, not a perfect emotional state. This is the reframe that changes you. This is the moment you stop waiting. This is the moment you start living. Not from inspiration, but from alignment. Not from force, but from frequency. Not from emotional pressure, but from the quiet, steady power of beginning. In the next chapter, we will explore how to design these beginnings, how to create rituals, rhythms, and tiny actions that feel safe to your nervous system and aligned with your energy. For now, love, just remember this. You don't chase inspiration anymore. You rise into it. Chapter 6: The Turning Point. The moment everything quietly changes. Every life has a turning point. Not the loud one. Not the dramatic one. Not the movie scene transformation where music swells and everything becomes clear all at once. No. The real turning point happens on a small, quiet day. So ordinary it almost slips out of memory. When you do something tiny, almost invisible, and yet your entire life begins to shift around it. This is the story of that day. And maybe as you read it, you'll feel the echo of your own. 1. The day that felt like nothing. It started like any other heavy morning. You know the kind. The air feels too still. Your chest feels too tight. Your mind feels too loud and too tired at the same time. You keep thinking about everything you should be doing, but your body feels anchored to the chair. It's the kind of morning where you don't feel like your future self at all. You feel like the version of you who has tried 100 times before, and quit 100 times too. You're not inspired. You're not motivated. You're not in alignment. You're not ready, but you sit down anyway. Not because you feel like it, but because something in you, something very soft, very quiet says, just show up. You open your laptop. The screen glows back at you, too bright, too blank. Your fingers hover over the keys, unsure, uncomfortable. Your mind whispers the old script. This is pointless. You're not in the mood. Why bother today? You're not ready yet. Try again tomorrow. The familiar voice of avoidance. The familiar tug to run. The familiar heaviness pressing against your ribs. And yet, you don't close the laptop. Just stay. Just breathing. Just being. Just holding space for the possibility that something small could happen. It is in this moment, the moment you do not flee, that the turning point begins. You don't know it yet. It doesn't feel like a turning point at all. Feels like you're doing nothing. But sometimes nothing is actually the moment before everything. 2. The one sentence that changes you. You tell yourself, just write one sentence, not a paragraph. Not a page, not perfection, just one. Your body resists, your thoughts resist, your emotions resist. But your fingers, bless them, they move anyway, and you write something. It's not brilliant, it's not groundbreaking, it's not your best work, just a sentence. But as soon as the words appear on the screen, something inside you exhales. It's tiny, barely noticeable. The kind of inner exhale you'd miss if you weren't paying attention. But you feel it. Small release. A small loosening. A small shift in the atmosphere of your body. Like the very first crack in a thick layer of ice. Like the very first warmth returning to cold hands. Like a window opening in a room that has been closed for too long. You didn't finish the task. You didn't conquer the mountain. You didn't change your whole life in one dramatic sweep. You just wrote a single sentence. But that sentence, that tiny act, is the hinge. Because the moment the sentence lands, your energy shifts. 3. The shift you can't fake. You feel it subtly but unmistakably. Heavy lighter. Stuck moving. Doubtful possible. Frozen melting. Overwhelmed beginning. The shift is not loud. It's not euphoric. It's not a lightning strike of motivation. It's quieter. More honest. More grounded. It's the energy of, I can do a little. I'm capable of something. I'm not trapped. I still have movement in me. I'm not defined by how I felt 5 minutes ago. This shift, this micro-movement, is more powerful than any high of inspiration. Because it doesn't collapse when your mood changes. Comes from action, from truth, from embodied momentum. This shift belongs to you. Not your emotions, not your thoughts, not your circumstances. You created it. And what you create you can recreate. 4. The internal doorway opens. As you sit there with just one sentence on the screen, you realize something strange. You want to keep going. Not out of pressure. Not out of guilt. Not out of fear of falling behind. But because the act of beginning, the softness of it, the humanity of it, has changed your internal weather. You no longer feel like someone stuck in place. You feel like someone in motion. And motion feels good. Natural. Alive. Possible. You sit up a little straighter. Your breath deepens. Your mind feels clearer. Not completely but enough. You're not in a great mood. You're not having a breakthrough. But you're present. Or here. This presence is the real pivot. This presence is the turning point. Because the old version of you, she required emotional readiness before she began. But this version, the one sitting at the laptop right now, is learning a new truth. I don't need to feel ready to begin. I only need to feel willing. This is the day you stop abandoning yourself. This is the day the old pattern cracks. This is the day you step out of the identity of the old you and into the becoming of your future self. Not with fireworks, with one breath, with one sentence. 5. The moment you experience your own power. There is a reason this moment matters so much. It's not the one sentence. It's not the task. It's not the productivity. It's the nervous system shift. You just gave your brain a new outcome. Action, even tiny action, feels safe. You just gave your energy a new frequency. Progress feels possible. You just gave your identity a new message. I am someone who begins. You just gave your future self a signal. I'm coming. In that moment, something deep inside you, something ancient, something wise, awakens. You feel your own power, not as force, but as movement, not as intensity, but as consistency, not as emotional fire, but as emotional rootedness. And for the first time, perhaps in years, you realize you don't need to become someone else to change your life. You only need to take one tiny step at a time. From the self you are now. 6. You stop being the old version of you. Identity doesn't shift all at once. It shifts in tiny repeated moments, where you choose something different than your past pattern. And this moment, this one-sentence moment, is one of those identity cracks, because the older version of you, she would have closed the laptop. She would have said, "Not today." She would have escaped into distraction. She would have waited for inspiration. She would have delayed her own becoming. But this version didn't run. This version stayed. This version breathed. This version acted. And because she acted, everything is different now. Not everything on the outside. Not everything on your to-do list. Not every circumstance. But inside, everything shifted. Something opened. Something softened. Something aligned. You are not the same as you were 5 minutes ago. You are a woman in motion. 7. Why this moment matters more than any big achievement. You may not realize it yet. But this tiny sentence is the exact moment your future life began. Because life doesn't change in dramatic moments. Changes in micro-decisions. This moment is important because you overcame the hardest barrier. The beginning. Not completing. Not perfecting. Not sustaining. Beginning. You started before you felt ready. You created energy instead of waiting for it. You proved to your nervous system that small steps are safe. This rewires your brain. This rewires your energy. This rewires your identity. Big achievements are built from hundreds of moments like this. Quiet, uncelebrated inward moments, where you choose yourself, even when inspiration is nowhere to be found. This moment matters more than any big win, because it's the foundation of all of them. 8. You feel the first drop of self-trust again. The sentence on your screen is small, but the feeling inside you is big. It is the first drop of self-trust. Quiet trust. A gentle trust. A trust that doesn't rush you and doesn't shame you. You realize, I can start even when I don't feel like it. I can move even when my mind wants to run. I can shift my energy in tiny, doable ways. I can be present for myself again. This is self-trust, the truest form. Not the loud confidence of someone who conquers goals, but the quiet confidence of someone who shows up when it's hard. This is the kind of trust that transforms your whole life, because it becomes your inner home. 9. Closing. The birth of your new self. Before we end this chapter, I want you to close your eyes with me. Just one breath. Just one moment. Place your hand on your heart. Feel your chest rise beneath your palm. Feel the warmth of your own existence. And whisper this softly. I don't have to become someone new to change my life. I only have to begin. This is the moment your life pivots. This is the moment you step into your becoming. This is the moment you stop waiting to feel ready and start living in alignment with your future self. The turning point is not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not spectacular. It's quiet. It's small. It's human. It's tender. It's one sentence on a screen, on a day when your mind wanted to run away. And it's enough to make you a different woman than the one you were before. In the next chapter, we will build on this moment and explore how to create daily rituals that make these tiny beginnings feel natural, safe, and steady, until momentum becomes the new foundation of your life. You've turned the corner now. Let's walk forward together. Chapter 7 Practical Ritual. The 10-minute no inspiration ritual. Every transformation needs a doorway. a gentle, accessible way for you to step into your future self, without overwhelming your nervous system or waiting for the perfect feeling. This ritual is that doorway. It's simple. It's small. It's doable on your busiest days and your heaviest days. It doesn't rely on motivation, discipline, or emotional clarity. It only requires one thing: 10 minutes of willing. Not energy, not excitement, just willingness. Let me walk you through it slowly, the way I would if we were sitting together on your living room floor. Knees folded, sunlight drifting in. Your breath softening in the air between us. Because this ritual is not just a practical tool. It's an energetic reset. A daily way of telling your brain, your body, your future self, I'm here. I'm showing up. Even if I don't feel like it yet. 1. The purpose of the ritual. A practice for real life. Before we dive into the steps, I want you to understand why this ritual matters so deeply. Most people never begin anything. Not because they don't care, but because they wait for inspiration. And inspiration is unreliable, inconsistent, emotional, fragile. But ritual is steady. Ritual doesn't ask you to feel good. It asks you to be present. Ritual doesn't ask for intensity. It asks for honesty. Ritual doesn't ask you to be someone new. Meets you exactly where you are. The 10-minute no inspiration ritual is designed to shift your chemistry, energy, identity, frequency, self-trust, all in a window small enough that your brain has no reason to panic. This ritual rewires you gently. Let me show you how. 2. Step 1. Set a 10-minute timer. This step seems almost too simple. But it is the heart of the ritual. When you set a timer, you create a container, a safe emotional boundary. You're telling your brain, we are not doing this forever. We are not doing a marathon. We are just doing 10 minutes. Your nervous system relaxes. Your prefrontal cortex turns on. Your resistance softens. 10 minutes is short enough that your inner critic can't argue. It's short enough that overwhelm can't latch onto it. It's short enough that your brain whispers, okay, I can handle that. The timer also does something else. Something subtle and profound. It removes the fear of not finishing. When you give yourself a defined time, your only job becomes presence, not completion. This is how we bypass self-sabotage. This is how we begin without pressure. This is how we move. Once the timer starts, the ritual begins. 3. Step 2. Choose one task, the smallest version possible. This is essential. You are not choosing the full task. You are choosing the microscopic version. The version your brain can't fight. Air Zion that feels almost laughably simple. Examples. Don't clean the kitchen, wipe one counter. Don't write a chapter, write one sentence. Don't exercise. Stretch for 60 seconds. Don't organize your closet. Fold 2 shirts. Don't meditate. Follow one slow breath. Don't work for an hour. Open the document. Tiny is powerful. Tiny is safe. Tiny is how you trick your brain into opening the door to momentum. When a step is small enough, you bypass the 3 biggest enemies of action. Resistance, overwhelm, perfectionism. Smallness disarms them all. She think. But Lila, this feels too small to matter. Love. That is exactly why it works. Because small is not about progress. Small is about identity activation. Every time you do the smallest possible action, you become the kind of person who is capable of beginning. And that identity is everything. 4. Step 3. No expectation of finishing, only of beginning. This is where the ritual becomes spiritual. Because not expecting yourself to finish is an act of self-compassion most people never experience. You are not doing this ritual to complete a task. You are doing it to complete a frequency shift. You are doing it to teach your brain. Beginning is safe. Movement is safe. I don't need emotional readiness to start. My worth is not tied to finishing. This is where shame dissolves. This is where pressure dissolves. This is where old patterns break. When you remove the expectation of completion, you remove 80% of the emotional weight. And without the weight, your actions become effortless. You begin because beginning feels spacious. You begin because beginning feels kind. You begin because beginning doesn't demand anything from you. And that that breath inside your chest is the true purpose of the ritual. 5. Step 4. When the timer ends, acknowledge yourself. This step is not optional. This step is the rewiring. When the timer ends, you're going to say one sentence to yourself. It's simple. It's tender. It's energy shifting. Here's the one I use. Look at you showing up for your life. And you can whisper it. You can say it in your mind. You can write it in your journal. You can place your hand on your heart as you say it. Why does this matter so much? Because every time you acknowledge yourself, you reinforce dopamine, progress, identity, emotional reward, a frequency elevation. This one sentence becomes an anchor in your day. It's the moment your body registers. I did it. Moved. I'm proud. This tiny dose of pride is the emotional electricity of momentum. This pride is what makes you want to do it again tomorrow. You are not rewiring your brain with action alone. You are rewiring it with the emotion that follows the action. Not praise from others. Not external validation. Your own tenderness. That's the medicine. 6. Why this ritual works so powerfully. Let me break down the neuroscience and energy behind it. Neuroscience effects. Tiny actions bypass resistance. Timer creates safety and structure. Dopamine spikes from micro-wins. Acknowledgement creates neuroassociation. Repetition builds habits and identity. Energetic effects. Action lifts your frequency. Acknowledgement anchors the lift. The ritual resets stagnation. Your field opens to possibility. You align with your future self's vibration. When you do this ritual daily, you are training your energy field to respond to movement, not emotion. You are teaching your body that you don't need inspiration. You generate it. You are rewiring yourself into a woman who trusts her own beginnings. 7. What happens over time? The transformation. After a week of doing this ritual, you'll notice tasks feel less intimidating. Your mind panics less. Your mood improves. Your frequency rises faster. You feel slightly more grounded each morning. After a month, your self-trust deepens. You start taking slightly bigger steps without force. Your emotional resilience increases. Your relationship with yourself softens. You feel in motion even on slow days. After 3 months, Your identity shifts. Consistency becomes natural. You no longer wait to feel inspired. You move through life with more ease. You become someone who follows through. A momentum becomes your emotional home. And all of this, all of it, from a 10-minute ritual that asks almost nothing, but gives you everything. 8. The sacred message of this ritual. Let me tell you what this ritual is really saying. Tells your past self, I forgive us for every time we abandoned our beginnings. Tells your present self, I'm here with you, even on the days you feel empty. Tells your future self, I'm coming. I'm not quitting. I'm willing to take tiny steps until we meet. This ritual is an act of devotion, not to productivity, not to goals, to you, to your becoming, to your gentle discipline, to your rising frequency, to the woman you are stepping into. 9. Closing. The whisper that anchors your future. Before we close this chapter, place your hand on your heart again. Feel your breath beneath your palm. And say softly, like a woman who is learning to trust herself again, I don't need inspiration to begin. I just need 10 minutes. This ritual is your anchor, your doorway, your shift. It's the practice that makes your brain feel safe and your energy feel possible. Tomorrow morning, you don't need a miracle. You don't need motivation. You don't need a mood shift. You need one timer, one tiny task, one breath-sized beginning, one sentence of self-love. That's all. Love. That is enough to change your whole life. In the next chapter, we will explore how to integrate these rituals into your daily rhythm, how to craft a lifestyle of gentle consistency that holds you even on the days when your heart feels tender and your energy feels scattered. We're building your new world, one soft practice at a time. Chapter 8: Emotional Integration. Letting your body learn the frequency of momentum. There is a moment in every transformation where the shift stops being intellectual and begins becoming embodied. It's the moment when your body, not your mind, not your willpower, not your intentions, starts to recognize the feeling of moving forward as something familiar, safe, and even noise. This is emotional integration, the quiet alchemy where small actions repeated gently anchor themselves into your nervous system and reshape your identity from the inside out. Not with force, not with pressure, not with intensity, just truth, just repetition, just softness. Let's explore what this looks like in your body, so you can feel the shift unfolding. Within you. 1. The body learns before the mind believes. Here's something no one ever tells you. Your mind is not the first part of you to transform. Your mind argues. Your mind resists. Your mind clings to old stories. But your body, your breath, your nervous system, your emotional field, they learn from experience. This means your body believes what you do, not what you intend. So when you begin taking tiny actions daily, even for 10 minutes, even when uninspired, your body starts to gather evidence. We are moving. We can begin. We are capable. We are safe. This evidence is not stored as thoughts. It is stored as sensations. A softening in your shoulders. A widening in your chest. A smoother breath. A subtle rising of energy. Your body is learning that momentum does not require pressure, That progress does not require perfection. That showing up can feel gentle. It begins to trust the rhythm. And trust is what allows new frequencies to take root. 2. Momentum has a frequency, and your body can learn it. Momentum is not just a pattern of behavior. It is an emotional frequency. A subtle energetic hum inside you. Feels like a little warmth under your ribs. A sense of forward tilt in your chest. A quiet yes in your belly. A soft opening in your breath. Feeling of something wants to move here. First, this frequency feels foreign. Like a new language your body doesn't yet understand. But with small daily actions, you begin teaching your body the dialect of momentum. One tiny step. One micro win. One soft acknowledgement. Again and again. And slowly, beautifully, your emotional field starts whispering. This is familiar. This is comfortable. This feels like me. Momentum becomes not something you chase, but something you inhabit. 3. Consistency becomes a felt sense, not an effort. There is a shift that happens quietly. When emotional integration takes place, you stop seeing consistency as something you must force. You start feeling it as something that simply fits. Think of it like slipping into a rhythm. The way your body naturally adjusts to waves on the beach. Or to the sway of a train. The rhythm carries you. Your body begins to anticipate the movement. That little lift of energy when you take a step. That small spark of satisfaction when you finish a tiny action. That soft pride when you whisper, "Look at you." And because your body anticipates the feel, seeks it, not out of pressure, out of familiarity. Your nervous system loves what feels safe. And once momentum feels safe, it will guide you toward it with surprising ease. 4. The old frequency gently fades. You may not notice this at first. But as the frequency of momentum takes root, the old emotional patterns begin to dissolve. The heaviness of procrastination, the stuck feeling in your chest, the fog of avoidance, the tightness of self-doubt, the shame of "I never follow through." These sensations don't vanish dramatically. They don't explode out of your life. They simply fade. Like shadows softening at sunrise. Because once your body knows the frequency of movement, the frequency of stagnation loses its grip. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to push. You don't have to force discipline. Your energy simply prefers motion. Your body prefers what feels good. Your nervous system prefers what feels safe. And forward movement starts to feel both. 5. Your emotional home relocates. We all have an emotional home. Default state we return to when life gets overwhelming or uncertain. For some, that home is anxiety. For others, numbness. For others, hyperthinking or avoidance. But when you practice tiny actions daily, your emotional home begins to change address. It moves from stuck moving, curiosity, overthinking gentle action, shame self-trust, pressure presence. This does not happen overnight. This happens through integration, the slow, daily settling of truth into your body. And one day, without noticing, your default shifts. You wake up and your first instinct isn't to freeze. It's to begin. Not dramatically. Not perfectly. Just naturally. Just truthfully. Just as the woman you've become. 6. Being in motion feels like coming home. There is a moment in every journey where you realize you are no longer forcing yourself. Things feel softer, easier, lighter. Your actions feel less like effort and more like alignment. Your heart moves with you instead of against you. You don't rely on adrenaline or pressure. You rely on trust, warmth, self-respect, energetic momentum. You begin to sense that I am not pushing myself into life. I am stepping into a rhythm that already belongs to me. This is emotional integration. This is embodiment. This is the moment your body feels safe enough for growth to feel natural. 7. Closing a new emotional home. Place your hand on your heart again. Feel its warmth. Feel its steady rhythm. Feel the truth rising inside you. Whisper this gently. My body is learning how to move forward. This is becoming my new home. 'Cause it is. Not through force. Not through big leaps. Not through perfection. Through tiny repeated acts of devotion to your future self. Your emotional home is shifting, love. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But deeply. Honestly. Beautifully. In the next chapter, we will explore how to stabilize this new emotional home, how to keep your frequency steady, even on messy days and imperfect weeks. Momentum is becoming your truth. Now we'll learn how to let it stay. Chapter 9, Closing Frequency. One day you realize you are the inspiration. There comes a day, quiet, almost shy, when something inside you shifts, in a way you didn't expect, and didn't have to force. A day when you are moving through your morning, the same way you've done countless times before, pouring your coffee, opening your blinds, stretching your body awake, and suddenly you pause, not because something is wrong, but because something is beautifully, almost impossibly right. There's a softness in your breath, a steadiness in your chest, a clarity in your mind that feels like fresh air. And as you stand there, bathed in gentle sunlight, you realize you're not waiting anymore, not waiting for inspiration, not waiting for readiness, not waiting for the perfect emotion to wash over you. Not waiting for the version of you that once felt so far away. You are already moving. You are already becoming. You are already stepping into the life you once thought required permission. And you feel something warm inside you. Quiet pride. An inner rising. A frequency you used to chase in books, videos, podcasts, seminars. But now, it's coming from you. 1. You become the spark you once looked for. For years you thought inspiration was something external, a flame held by other people, offered to you in small, fleeting moments. But as you keep showing up in tiny, gentle ways, as you build momentum one breath-sized action at a time, something startling happens. You stop needing inspiration. Because you start creating it. Your actions become the match. Your consistency becomes the kindling. Your soft discipline becomes the fire. And one day, without realizing how or when it shifted, you notice that the woman staring back at you in the mirror isn't waiting for a spark anymore. She is the spark, not in a loud, dramatic, fiery way, but in a grounded, steady, deeply embodied way. The kind of inspiration that whispers instead of shouts. The kind that sustains instead of spikes. The kind that rises from truth, not adrenaline. 2. The frequency of self-trust becomes your atmosphere. When you began, self-trust felt fragile. A shy whisper you had to listen carefully to hear. But momentum repeated daily does something miraculous. Turns self-trust into your emotional home. You start believing your own actions. You start honoring your own promises. You start recognizing your own power, not as potential, but as proof. This creates a frequency inside you. A warm hum that fills your chest. Subtle but real. I can rely on myself. I can meet myself where I am. I can begin even on my messy days. I don't abandon myself anymore. This is the frequency of a woman who is becoming herself. Not performing. Not pretending. Becoming. And that is the real inspiration. The kind that doesn't evaporate. 3. You learn that inspiration was never an emotion. There's something you understand now. Something you feel in your bones. Inspiration was never the start. It was always the echo. It was the glow after the step. The warmth after the action. The rise after the tiny movement. Your brain didn't need motivation. Your body didn't need excitement. Your energy didn't need permission. Needed movement. Gentle, small, consistent movement. And now that your body has learned the frequency of momentum, really learned it, in your cells, in your nervous system, you realize you've crossed the threshold into a new way of living. You're not waiting. You're not bargaining. You're not negotiating with your fear. You're moving. Toughly. Honestly. Naturally. That's inspiration. That's alignment. That's embodiment. For the woman you've become feels like home. You can feel her now. The woman you've been inching toward. Through every tiny action. Every 10-minute ritual. Every small beginning on days when you felt nothing. There's a moment when she stops being a future version of you and becomes the present version. Not because you achieved everything, but because you shifted inwardly. Your emotional home is different. Your body's response to starting is different. Your relationship with action is different. Your self-talk is different. You have rewired yourself. From a woman who waits to a woman who moves. And the most beautiful part. Feels like coming home. Like an exhale you've been holding for years. Like a warmth spreading through the places inside you that once felt cold. Like truth finally landing. 5. The quietest moment becomes the loudest transformation. Transformation is rarely a lightning strike. It's the soft click of tiny choices aligning. The morning you begin before you feel ready. The evening you show up for 10 minutes because you promised yourself you would. The day you acknowledge yourself. With one gentle sentence. Look at you showing up for your life. These moments build the woman you are now. Not the dramatic days. The quiet ones. The days you didn't quit. The days you didn't run. The days you took the smallest step imaginable. And let it count. Those moments become your new truth. And one morning, with sunlight on your skin, and steadiness in your chest, you finally feel it. You didn't become someone new. You remembered who you were always capable of being. 6. Closing, feel this frequency with me. Before we close this chapter, before we close this book, I want to share one last moment with you. Place your hand on your heart. Softly, gently, with presence. Take one breath with me. And slowly, slowly. Now feel that quiet pride rising in your chest. The subtle warmth. The gentle lift. The truth of who you are becoming. This right here. This is the frequency of a woman who no longer waits, but steps gently into her future. A woman who creates momentum. A woman who trusts herself. A woman who becomes the inspiration, instead of chasing it. This is you now, not someday. Walk forward with that frequency. Love belongs to you. It always has. Afterword from Lila. Before you close this book, before you step back into your world, your routines, your mornings and nights, I want to sit with you for just one more soft moment. Just you and me. Take a slow breath with me. In through the nose, out through the heart. 'Cause if you are here, reading these final words, something inside you has already shifted. Maybe quietly, maybe subtly, maybe so gently you almost missed it. But it's there. The beginning of a new frequency humming beneath your ribs. A steadiness, softness, a sense of movement, where once there was only pause. And I want to honor that. I want to honor you. You didn't just read 9 chapters. You walked through 9 doorways. You let 9 new truths enter your nervous system. One breath at a time. One tiny action at a time. One moment of willingness at a time. If I could reach through these pages and hold your hands in mine, I would tell you this. You are not the same woman who opened this book. You're softer now. Clearer. More honest with yourself. More capable than you've ever realized. Asterisk asterisk. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally met the version of you who had been waiting beneath the layers of doubt and delay. You met the woman who moves. The woman who doesn't wait for inspiration. The woman who creates her own momentum. With breath-sized steps. And heart-sized courage. Love. She's not temporary. She's not a momentary spark. She's not a fleeting high. Is you. She's home. If you ever find yourself slipping back into old patterns, remember this book isn't a rule book. It's a reminder. Return to one sentence. One tiny action. One 10-minute ritual. One breath. You don't have to restart. You just continue. Because you're not beginning from zero. You're beginning from wisdom. You're beginning from frequency. You're beginning from self-trust. And your future self. The one with the softer mornings and the wider heart. She's not far away. She's only ever one tiny step from where you stand now. Before we part, let me leave this truth with you. You are the inspiration you were always looking for. You are the spark. You are the momentum. You are the quiet miracle unfolding. Asterisk asterisk. Feel that. Let it settle. Carry it with you. I'm cheering for you in every chapter of your life. The loud ones. The messy ones. The tender ones. And the beautifully ordinary ones. Walk gently. Begin softly. Trust deeply. And remember, I'm always right here. Walking beside you in the frequency of your becoming. With love always, Lila.